and then let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming on this Friday, 2 o'clock. Hello, Hannah. Thank you for coming and showing your face. Kristen, hello. Eric, nice. We got our faculty leads in the building, on the mountain, if you will. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started because, I mean, if you're not here on time, then you miss all the good stuff, right? Is that how classes work generally? So, y'all get this reward for coming on time. We're going to be talking about the professional development paths today and how we're going to be updating them for the second portion of the track. But before I explain it, I have a video to show you all that kind of explains it in a more gamified way. So let me make sure my screen sharing the sound. Okay, so sit back and relax and enjoy this, and we will talk about it after it's done. In the mystical realm of pedagogia, a dynamic shift is unfolding across the vibrant landscape of the Learning Enclave. Our journey up Jisan Mountain began last fall, with some trailblazers already advancing quickly. Kudos to these pioneers. Yet, many have found their ascent challenging, hindered by the elusive specter of time. We understand the dilemma of adding another quest to your bag already full of scrolls. Thus, we're transforming the journey from a burdensome tome to a delightful, leisurely read. Enter the PD Accelerator, our enchanting solution for communal professional growth. These gatherings, both virtual and in person, are designed to be your sanctuaries of learning and collaboration. In addition to these community meetings, we're also refining the paths. Instead of 4 separate trails, we'll focus on 2, the cornerstones of college instruction and education technology. Cornerstones will continue to guide those new to our college, leading them from the initial path into foundations of teaching. And for the evidence-based scholars and OEP guardians, your journey continues interwoven with our upcoming generative AI course. And for those needing to catch up, we're introducing weekly study groups to ensure no one is left behind. Together, we shall embark on this grand adventure, each step as testament to our collective pursuit of knowledge and excellence. Join us in this journey, for in pedagogia, every moment of learning is a step towards a grander tomorrow. All right. So, thank you, Jaya. That is a quick little teaser of what we've been working on and what we're going to talk about today. Thank you, Christine. So basically what I'm going to do now is kind of go scene by scene and kind of translate what we mean by what we said in the video. So we'll start with the first one. I'm not going to read what it said in the story because we just heard that, but I'll just say what it means. Basically, we're making some adjustments to the paths. We started with the four tracks, and then we're doing something new moving forward. So we had a lot of people that started the tracks, and we started everyone. We admitted everybody into the fall and some are almost done with the first course, like they just like took off and got most of the modules done. Don't know if anybody is fully complete yet, but we have a couple people that are close. But we found out that a lot of people were having trouble getting started because they weren't able to find the time.
So like we sent out the faculty leads sent out a survey to all of the people who didn't start yet. And this is just an example of some of the responses that we got from the EdTech track. And you'll notice that you can kind of see a word over and over again. And so it's time. So we understand that dilemma, and we can we're trying to figure out how we can make it worth the time. And so let's see here. We know that instructors are busy, right? We got a lot of classes, and that involves a lot of things to do. Our plan, well, this is a little bit different from the video, so I'll read this part. So we're transforming this journey from a cold piece of cauliflower that you must wolf down. So professional development doesn't have the best reputation. It's not like, yay, we're gonna go do professional development, but that's what we're hoping that can happen. So we're making an attempt to change this perception. We're going to try to change the cauliflower into a delightfully warm cookie that you can leisurely enjoy with your friends. And so we're calling this PD Accelerators. It's our plan here to set up weekly college-wide meetings to work on professional development together. Now, we have a weekly kind of like open office that we set up from Basecamp. And around the time of Basecamp, a lot of people came in, and they were, that was a good place for people who had questions. But for this one, we're going to be changing it a little bit. Instead of having just open hours, it's going to be like more direct instruction from me for the generative AI course. We'll have a separate thing later for the previous courses, but for the generative AI course and the new cornerstones of college instruction, we're going to set up some times where I'll come in and I'll instruct, and maybe we'll have someone else from the TLC that can come in and work on the foundations course. But for right now, the generative AI course, everyone should be getting an email, if they haven't already, that you've been added to the generative AI course. Starting next week on the 9th at 2 p.m., we're going to invite all the faculty to join via Zoom, very similar to what's happening right now. And then we're going to have some in-person meetings in the LRC in room 111, 111, around 3 p.m. So if you want to meet in person, then you can work on the professional development with people, other faculty members. And so to make this work, we had to make some adjustments, which is what we talked about, or what I talked about up at the top. Basically, instead of having the 4 paths, we're going to narrow the scope down to the 2. And so this path, let me see here if I can get fancy with the annotate. This green path, if anybody knows, that's the evidence-based scholars here. And let's see, so these ones and these ones. This is the OER is the red. They're going to go into this one path, and then we're going to keep the cornerstones open, which I think I'm going to explain here in a second. So Cornerstone stays as the beginner track, and it will be coupled with the peer support network, which we're working on to help out people who are new to the college and new to teaching. So the first part of the track is really like about Clover Park and kind of our culture and how we run things. And then also it's about how to do things in Canvas. And then the second part really drills down on effective teaching practices. So those will be for kind of the beginner teachers or the beginner instructors. And then, as I said, the generative AI in higher education course will have opportunities to incorporate evidence-based practices. So we're taking the stuff that we talked about in the first part of the track of the evidence-based practice, and we're putting those into and using them and talking about them in the AI course. And then, so yeah, from the active learning one. And then the open education resources, the first course was the OER starter kit. And so we'll also be incorporating aspects from that in the course as well. And then, so we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to talk about the tracks, the first parts of the tracks that maybe some of you are behind or haven't started yet. We're thinking about having weekly meetings for those as well. So this would be in addition to the Friday Zoom and the Monday in-person one for the generative AI course. The PD Accelerator meetings are weekly catch-up classes for those who haven't completed the first parts of the path. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you all some links to when to meet. And if you're not familiar with when to meet, it's just a website where you fill in your availability. So like, for example, this is just an example when to meet, and I filled in I'm available pretty much all day Thursday. I'm only available from 12 to 1 on Friday. I'm pretty much available all day Monday and Wednesday and Friday except for an hour. So this was like specific days, like in October last year, but the ones I'm sending you now are for like generally like week to week, if your schedule isn't, if it doesn't change too much. So I'll give you these links in the chat. So just based on whatever track you're on, yes, Sally, I will be providing that in like 5 minutes. So just give a little bit of time. I want to go over all this stuff first. So these are the links to the when to meet. So if you can commit to meeting once a week and you're a member of one of these tracks and you're behind and you would like to kind of dedicate an hour to work on this professional development, then you can click one of those links and then fill in your availability. But it's kind of a, it would be similar to if you made an appointment at the chiropractor where you said, I'm going to come every week at this time to meet, and you would want to try to keep that appointment. That's kind of the idea. So you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But yeah, go ahead, Jaya.
Well, I don't mean have. Good point. Thank you for reminding me about the
Do
hour.
we get to complete the full tracks?
Yes. Am I afforded the luxury of doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
My question really is, do I have to catch up? Meaning, I didn't take the beginning of actually any class because I was one of those that signed up to work with Hannah and then went in there, but really haven't gotten back to it. So
what we're doing for the generative AI course, if that's what you're interested in, that's gonna kind of like stand on its own,
I don't-
and it doesn't matter, you don't have to have any, there's no prerequisites for it. It's just come and try to follow along. But as for the other stuff, it's up to you if you wanna go in and do it, but I don't know what your situation is with, if you're trying to get an increment or collect professional development units, then
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose all of it would be good. I'm particularly focused on the pedagogy, PDU units, so I can get my increment. And then that also corresponds to my PDP.
yeah. So I think Diane said it in the chat, but you don't have to like stick to a path, like whatever you do.
Okay, okay.
Like whatever
great.
you do
Thank you.
through the Teaching and Learning Center, you'll get a badge for it. And those, well, they're badges, but we call them coins. But those coins that you get are worth, they'll say how much they're worth, but
Right,
usually they're
okay.
about an hour each. So like, for example, if I just did 5, levels of this path and I didn't like it, I still get the credit for that 5 that I
Okay.
did.
I understand. And then was in the video, was that your AI voice being,
No, that was me. That was just my normal
it
voice.
was so measured? I mean, I could tell it was you, but I just didn't,
Oh, it didn't
it
sound.
was, no, you
It
didn't sound like,
wasn't as
you
yeah,
didn't
I was
sound,
trying to keep it underneath the volume level too much. So
right,
okay,
okay, well,
I
it's all
gotta
good.
move on.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So the reason that we're doing this, we want to give you all the most worthwhile experience. So that in addition to the monetary incentive to complete all the 96 hours of professional development, the feelings you'll have as a more confident teacher in the classroom will be worth the effort. And for those who are concerned about time, my partner in crime, Jeff Kane in the TLC, mentioned in the most recent podcast episode that we released that if you take this generative AI course, it's going to help you to save time, because the tools like ChatGPT or any sort of generative AI, if you haven't used them yet, they'll cut your time down in terms of lesson planning, in terms of creating assessments, making your CLOs, all that kind of stuff. So come with us, come have some cookies with us. This was a callback to earlier part of the video, or not the video, but this presentation. But it's a segue. I'm here to promote. We have an event called, oh, actually, this is an old flyer, but it's cocoa, cookies, and coffee. So the 3 C's that are very important. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, come by the TLC from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we'll have coffee, cocoa, and cookies that we're just giving out. And we'll answer any questions that you might have related to any of this professional development, whether it's the tracks or anything else, I guess, teaching and learning related. So come by for that. Okay. Now it's time to get into details about the course. So, oh yeah, we got bookmarks too. That didn't fit the C thing, but cocoa, cookies, coffee, and bookmarks. I guess we can have the sound at the end. Okay, I'm gonna go over this course right now, and I'm gonna invite anybody else in the chat that hasn't gotten an invite to come explore it with me. So that is the self-enroll link. And hold on. What's up? Yeah, come on. My son also wants to see what we're doing in here. Okay, so This is it. This is the generative AI in higher education. Should be higher education. Higher education course. We took the theme from the Jisan Mountain gamified tracks and really went head on with it. So if you get to the if you're at the homepage, I'm just going to explain this like very briefly, and then if anybody has any questions about it, then maybe at the end you can ask some questions. So this is the generative AI in education course. On the homepage, it's got links to all of the different levels, the modules that we're calling levels, and a little bit of explanation about them. Basically, how the course is structured is for the first module or for the first level, it's just kind of going over the basics of generative AI and how it relates to higher education. And then the next level is we're going to look at the ethical implications behind it. The first level is just a video and reflections. And then the second level is kind of like a discussion post and reflection. Once we get to level 18 though, we're gonna start like really diving in and using these generative AI tools. So every week we'll try a new tool, and we'll try to make something new with it. So for example, the first week, or level 18, the first week that we're going to be using the tools, we are going to be working on the CLOs. So we kind of take this top-down approach where we'll start with the course learning outcomes, kind of draft some sub-course learning outcomes. Then we go into the lesson plan. Then we go into the assignments, and then we go into the rubrics. So it's kind of this top-down approach. And then we look at assessments and then summative assessments here. So for level 18 to 23, this is where we're going to do a new tool every time. And then starting at level 24, it's kind of, we're going to kind of go back and do like similar things. Like, for example, you can see this is lesson plans. And so basically what you're going to do is all the information that you've acquired for using the tool in the previous weeks, you're going to do that and then really kind of focus on trying to overhaul all of your lesson plans. And the same thing with assignments. You can go in and it says here that you try to rework about 4 assignments, but like at least 4. And then same thing with rubrics, assessments. And then the last 2 weeks of the course are focused on creating a presentation of your portfolio. So basically every week you're going to be doing 2 things. You're going to be reflecting about your process of using these generative AI tools, and then making something, right? So if I go here to level 18, for this week, as I said, it's the sub CLO, the CLOs and sub CLOs. And so you can see the objectives on the intro page. Excuse me. And then on the learn page, there's a link out to a document where you can copy the document and edit that document with your information. And then it's like their example prompts where you can just copy and paste the prompt into ChatGPT. And then once you're done doing that process, you would add whatever you created in ChatGPT, and then you would add it into a portfolio. And the portfolio can be anything. If you need help, I'll probably stay after on most meetings if you need help with something like setting up a Google site. So the examples that I use throughout the course are from this this content. Hold on just a second. Sorry. So this is an example of a portfolio that you can create using Google Sites. And it's not too hard. I know it probably looks like it's very difficult to do this, but it's a lot of copying and pasting. And what you can do is you can basically just make a page and then post whatever you created. So for example, this would be from that last assignment is creating so this is the syllabus, but these would be the examples of the sub CLOs that match with oh sorry, those are the program outcomes. These are the CLOs and then the sub CLOs inside here. And so every week you'll make some artifact, whether it's a rubric or an assignment or something like that. And then you'll also reflect on it in a reflection journal. And so during the second week, we'll set up the reflection journal. And then basically these are set up as discussion posts. And so you would post what you created here. So a link to your artifact so that we can practice making resources open. So this ties back to the open education resources. You would then post it here, so it's easily seen by the other people in the course. And then you can post your journal reflections down at the bottom. And so the idea is you're kind of openly sharing what you're doing and how you're feeling about it. And then you would go in and kind of look at another person's experience and product and kind of give them some, whatever you feel, some constructive feedback, or if you have some questions for them, or just any other additional insights. So the course structure is pretty much the same from week to week, with the exception of kind of the first 2 weeks, because this is kind of more information heavy. But like I said, from level 18, so that one's the CLOs, and then it's going to be the same kind of process where you got a page where it's a bunch of prompts and you can fill in the prompts with your information from your course, and then you would make a lesson plan, post it on whatever portfolio website you want to, and then write about it in your journal. And then so the idea is you're creating a bunch of artifacts and you're writing about your process, and then for the last 2 weeks, you would create like a presentation of all the things that you created and kind of your mindset behind that. So basically kind of putting it all together. And then for the last week, you would look at somebody else's portfolio presentation and give feedback on that. So the idea here is collaboration, and really kind of working together on trying to figure this AI thing out. So that is the course in a nutshell. Are there any questions? I haven't checked the chat in a while, but oh yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Chaya, in the chat. So it's level 16 because there were 15 levels in, this is actually the continuation of the EdTech track. And like I said in the video, we're putting in OER elements, and then we're also putting in evidence-based practice elements in there. So does anybody have any questions about the generative AI course? Is there a plan to use our portfolios for another purpose? So we're trying to model using portfolios because we're hoping that maybe the college can start heading in a direction where all of the work that the students are doing gets collected into a portfolio. And maybe your program does it already, but as I took some classes at Clover Park last year, and the stuff I made was like, I made it, I submitted it, and then I was done with it. Like, it didn't go anywhere. And so we're trying to figure out a way to yeah, like I said, model it. And then if you practice the process, then it would be much easier for you then to implement something like that into your programmer course. So
I just wondered because you mentioned OE and I didn't know if you intended to like compile the information and, and publish it in some other way,
oh, I haven't thought about that, but
to use
it
this
could be a
because
good compendium, something like
something.
along with it.
I thought it could be interesting because we're all doing the same thing. So it's kind of like we have data.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
I
anyway,
like
okay.
that's a good idea.
Bye-bye.
It's definitely something I'll talk to my team about. How many hours of PD is this course? So right now it's set up to be an hour level, but I'm curious about how long it's actually going to take. I'm notoriously bad at estimating time, so it might be a case where it might take 2 hours a week. I have to kind of see how it goes, and I also have to talk to my team. As far as using it for track B, Kristen, maybe
Yeah, so that's why I think, Sally, I think you mean skill standard B. Is that what you're talking about? So skill standard B, and stop me if that's not what, okay. So skill standard B is develop outcomes assessment and curricula. And so yes, it would align very appropriately to that, but also D. So if you get over, I'm assuming, I think Sally, you're on tenure track, right? So if you're trying to get your B and D done, it would probably get you half of B and all of D, or all of D and half of B, since you need 30 hours per. Wait a second though. This is the second half. If you did the whole year, it would get you a skill standard and a half. If you only did this section, I think it'll get you, Ronald, you slotted it for 15 hours, which it may end up being a little more than that. We have to assess the hours. Is it right now slotted for 15, Ronald?
It's slotted for 15.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to end up being more than that. And we'll let you know within the first week or two. We're just trying to gauge average time investment, which is hard to do with a group of people who have already done a lot of this work and are creating it. So it's, as educators, it's hard. It's a little hard when you're trying to assess time investment for and I'm going to put this average in quotes, but I hate that we have to put a time on it. But we're going to try to overestimate so that it doesn't feel like you're not getting the time for how much you're putting in. So roughly right now 15, but my guess is it's going to go up. If you go backwards and work on the ed tech track from before that, between that and this and Basecamp, that should get you B and D, so one full and half of the other for hours. So there's also, Sally, plenty of other offerings in the Teaching and Learning Center to get you all of your B and D. We just don't have A, because it's more related to your program practices. So A is a little bit more specific to what you would do in the classroom for tech, equipment and that type of thing. So you'll have to look outside of the Teaching and Learning Center for A for most of that. Derek?
I know that they're not out yet, but they're working on the skill standards. Are the general alignments staying the same with exception of, I think they're adding DEI in. I know that's
Yeah.
happening because we got that
Mhm.
request to do a survey.
Yeah, so as far as my understanding, talking to Claire, who's, I think she's a co-chair of that state committee. They're keeping the letters and the general content the same. They're just adjusting some of the sub categories a little bit, but it would still align A, B, D. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I just
and
wanted to
especially-
check.
Mhm, totally, that's a good question, and we've thought about that, but also we've been working on that a lot with the tenure steering committee too, to make sure that our work isn't gonna just have to be redone when these come out. So we've seen a very rough draft like almost a year ago, but I think they're also gonna come out with a newer draft soon. Anybody else have any other questions for Ronald or Jeff or I?
I have a quick question, please. Have you removed the other, like, I was just looking to find Hannah's class that I had been in. Have you removed things from Canvas at all? Okay.
No,
well,
they should all still be there. Maybe it's the star is removed or something from
Okay.
your,
Should we
you might have
not?
to go into view.
I
all
understand. Thank you.
courses.
I will do that. Do you plan to take these out? I mean, we can still complete them or?
Our plan, that's why we have the plan that Ronald talked about.
Yeah, all
about
those
meeting.
study dates. Okay, I just
Mhm.
really needed to
Yeah.
kind of merge that
No, it's
together.
okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
so there's two things going on. There's we're gonna move forward, accelerate with this generative AI course. And then looking backward, if you didn't complete what you wanted to from our track, we called it track A, the first half of the year,
Right.
whether it's base camp or the track content, you can still do both of those and we'll still support you. That's why
Awesome.
we put those dates in the chat, and we can send those out by email as well for people to set up times to meet with us and find cohorts of people who are really wanting to work together to just get it completed. I think what we noticed we were missing, and Ronald covered this a little bit, is really the community learning aspect. We tried to foster some of that, but we all have such busy, varied schedules. We're just trying to make this really at the forefront that if you want to work together, we want to facilitate that, and we want to make it a really fun, active learning environment. And so that's why we're moving forward in this iteration of the tracks.
Well, thank you. It sounds like a good time. I'll be there.
Good, awesome.
Thank you.
Nice. All right, so what we can do now, if there are no more questions, I know that we talked about it in the email about going over some general generative AI questions. So we sent out this Google form called the Faculty's Perspective Regarding Generative AI Usage at CPTC. And these are a series of questions that we created within the AI task force. And the purpose of this is we're trying to understand faculty's thoughts and opinions regarding generative AI. But then we're also trying to use that information to inform how we are going to move forward with creating a policy that can be added at the college level, and then individual policies that can be added at the course level. And so I'll send this link here to the chat. If you haven't filled this out, you can work on it now. And I mean, this isn't necessary, but it does, if you want your voice to be heard about this particular subject, which is quite ubiquitous. There's already 11 people who have responded. And what we can do now, since we're all here together, you can work on it as much as you want on your own, but then we also wanted to kind of open this up and have a discussion about it while we're all here together. So what I'll do is, yep, and if you gotta go, you gotta go. The recording should be available soon. Maybe we'll have it when we send out our email next week. We can include this recording as part of it. So
That was my next question is where will we find it? The recording.
I'll put it on YouTube and then we'll send it out with our email.
Okay. Thank you. Have a
Yep,
good
thanks,
rest of
Poppy.
the day.
Thanks for coming. All right, so, okay, first question's kind of basic, right? What's your familiarity with generative AI technologies? Just if you're really familiar with it, you can put a 5. Or not, you could put a 1. The next one we can talk about if anybody has any examples that they want to share. Otherwise, we can look at some of the responses here. Can you envision practical applications of generative AI in your teaching methods? Has anybody used generative AI in their courses?
Yes.
Jaya was there for that one time. Liana, do you want to share or?
Sure, I'll share. I teach simulation for the nursing students. So I have used it to write some of the necessary supporting documents. So like they have a patient who one right now is we have a patient who's in the ER and she is having an ectopic pregnancy and she's slowly getting worse. So the students have to recognize how to treat her, give her appropriate medications and treatments. And one of the things I needed was a lab report with labs showing that she was bleeding. And I know what those look like, but kind of wanted to see what ChatGPT would do for me. So I asked it to, show me some lab values for a patient who's bleeding, and it gave me a couple of examples. I've also started having other students from biology and chemistry come to act as family members for patients, and they needed scripts on what to say to the students. So I asked ChatGPT write me a script for a patient or a student who's acting as a patient family member for a patient who's having a heart attack. So it would give examples of what to say and how to act, and that helped the students who were coming to visit have more of an idea of what was expected, and it also helped the students who were actually in the simulation to actually talk with the family members. So yeah.
And were the scripts any good?
Yeah, they were pretty good. I actually went to a conference on this too, where they were talking about how to use ChatGPT in simulation and creation. And we sat down as a whole group and made whole scenarios with ChatGPT, and they're pretty good. They're pretty accurate. It's a little scary, but overall pretty good because it cut down on some of the time that I needed to write some of these scenarios, which is helpful, but also need to be careful because some of the things that they put in there weren't appropriate for the level of learners that we have in this program. So there's pros and cons to it. We're starting to use it a little bit more to help out with workload stuff, but yeah.
Cool. Well, I hope you're active in this course and maybe you can find an excuse to make some more of those types of assessments. Okay, and then we've got some other people, but yeah, fill out if you want your, like I said, voice to be heard. I'm just going to keep moving through just for time, but I see that somebody just did one, so thank you, whoever just did that. Okay, the next question here, have you observed instances of AI tool usage in student assignments? Like you didn't say whether you could use it or not, but then you got something that looked like it could have been from a student. Has anybody had that situation happen yet? maybe Christine, can you give us an example if you're willing?
Just in my students' writing, I don't have the same students every quarter, but so I don't really know their writing style. But I kind of am getting familiar with how ChatGPT responds to prompts and how it does an introduction and then it spews out some information and then it gives in conclusion. And just I don't know if it's the cadence of the ChatGPT, but I recognized it in some writing of my students. And so I asked them to resubmit and use their original words and, giving them an opportunity to kind of save face and redo the assignment, but not accuse them of anything. And it's kind of, it's
Yeah,
working.
I'm curious about your like, did you just say like, I noticed that some of you have interesting writing, and if you wanted, like, what was your process for asking people to resubmit? Was it like in the general to the class, or was it per person?
No, it was a couple individual students that I said, I recognize some things that didn't seem original, and if they could please resubmit with their original thoughts and writing. And they said, okay, we'll do. And then they resubmit something of their own. So hopefully it's their own.
Okay. They probably just took the same thing and said, make this sound more human.
They totally could be doing that.
Take out all the adjectives. I find that ChatGPT is very adjective heavy. But okay, so that's something that we'll cover in the course. But it's nice. Well, I guess it's not nice to hear that that's happening, but it's good to know that that is happening. Because yeah, I mean, we're definitely not the only college where that's going on. So okay, so the next one here, do you support providing students with college-wide access to AI software? This would be like, do we want to I guess provide training, but like, do you want to be able to give your students a chance to use it as a way of, what's that, maybe proactively dealing with the problem? Okay, good. We got some support here. Let's go to the next one here. Would access to advanced AI software for instructors be beneficial for your teaching? So does anybody want access to, like, let's say the plus version of ChatGPT? I don't know if that's ever going to be possible, because for a company called OpenAI, they're not very open with their practices. So y'all can fill in this one here. Kind of the main purpose of this one here is okay, cool. Yep, see you later. Is this policy and procedures statement. This is the one that we're thinking about adding into the student code of conduct. So if anybody can take the time to read this and maybe give your 2 cents. Yeah. Thank you, Kristen. If you do this, make sure you submit it at the end so that we can see it. Oh, Diane had this problem yesterday where you can only put so much stuff into Zoom. I'm putting this into 2 parts. So if you can, maybe sometime before next Friday, take a look at this. If something sounds strange or unclear, I think someone said, let's see if I dig into the responses here. Apologize for the scrolling. It says, let's see, the proposed addition, 5 people have agreed, or 8 people have agreed with it. Substantially might be subjective. I think it is clear. I think this is the problem, is the substantially is not clear. include how a student should acknowledge the, oh, so this one, just to kind of wrap up here, because I know it's Friday and I'm sure y'all don't want to be looking at policies. So this is the proposed edition. This is the make it clear. Here are some policy examples that you can use for your individual courses. And then these are like, you know, pretty much copy and paste right into the syllabus. Obviously read it first and adjust it for whatever you think, but this is talking about if you want to allow it for students, but they have to attribute it. In this one, AI is not allowed. I saw a couple people respond like that. So I'm curious to know why that would be the case. And then AI use is ignored. You don't talk about it or address that it's being used. So you can choose which one you think is most interesting for you in your courses. And then there's a part at the bottom if anybody has any further comments or suggestions. So be much appreciated if you all can take the time. I know surveys are not the funnest thing to do, but it would be very helpful for the AI task force moving forward to get an idea of what the faculty thinks. And with that, we can end it. Does anybody have any questions before we close up shop? Either related to AI or paths, tracks, professional development in general?
Ronald,
Go ahead.
is the student code of conduct state, and I know it's like a balance or like, yeah, I mean, it's a student related thing. Is that something, and obviously faculty have the opportunity to provide feedback through this survey, and it's rather unfortunate that, you know, there's so few responses so far. Because it's an important topic and I think people have opinions on them, or have opinions on it. Is this something, I can't say that our attendance at faculty senate meetings is much greater, but is this something that y'all are thinking about bringing to the shared governance and faculty senate?
So our plan was, yeah, we were gonna kind of get this information, compile the data, and then that was part of the next step was to go to y'all and
Okay.
present the information that we found. So
Perfect. Yeah.
Kristen, did you have something that you wanted to add?
I was just going to say, Derek, that we're trying to consider the whole academic integrity policy and potentially reword that whole thing because it's not very student-centered in its wording. So we were hoping to start with this AI portion, but then expand a little bit and adjust the language of the whole policy, since that's what we would have to move forward to the policy committee, the student learning committee, the forum, you know, go through the whole shared governance procedure that we have for policies and procedures. So, but it's just a long process. So it's right now we're in this information gathering. And to be fair, unless I'm wrong, this was just sent out, right, Ronald, with our email today?
I think,
Or did we send it out?
it might have been part of the event, but it might not have been
I think
invite. So
it was part of the event is where I caught it because I just, yeah. So, and maybe that's why people missed it.
Yeah, we can send, I mean, I don't like to inundate faculty with emails, but we can send it as kind of a separate email. Just, hey, if you haven't had a chance, please fill this out for your voice to be heard. And then hopefully we'll get more. Honestly, I'm happy there's been 12 so far because it really hasn't been super marketed to people.
No,
So,
you're right in that. And I'm hoping you do get more participation and more responses because it's an important topic. You know, I have my own, you know, thoughts and opinions. You know, I've done a lot of curriculum development and have chosen not to use it for my for my own reasons. But yeah, I think that's great. But I just, yeah, you're right. It's a long process to update policies and whatnot. And I'm glad that that there's also an examination of the broader policy to make it more academic honesty and whatnot, to make it student centered, because that's what we should be doing.
Well,
There
we
needs to be
can also-
consequences for academic dishonesty, obviously, but yeah.
What we can also do is put it on a slide for all faculty and staff day, which is a month from now. So I don't think things are going to move that fast that wouldn't be an okay time to like catch the stragglers, since that's one of the higher attended events with everyone there. So we can put it on when they call out for slides for the morning time that roll, we can put it on there too.
Yeah.
So.
All right, is there anybody else that has anything that they wanted to say? Hannah?
No, I'm just saying goodbye, everybody.
Oh,
Happy
goodbye.
Friday. Have a
Yeah.
good weekend.
Happy Friday. Thanks for
Okay.
coming. Thanks for taking
Of
the
course.
time.
I'll see y'all later. Nice job on the video too, Ronald. Really liked
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate
Very
it.
entertaining. Bye-bye.
All right, so I guess we'll end it. Kristen, did you want to say anything?
I have a question for you, Ronald, so you can end it.
Oh, okay. Everyone else, goodbye.
Jeff and Diane, I'll be at the meeting in just a second.
Okay,
after I
we'll
talk
see you.
to- Okay, I'll be right there.
We'll see you there.
Okay,
Before
thanks.
I hop off, and I know that for